What is up, Packers fans, and welcome to another episode of Cheeseheadz Weekly. I am your host, Landry, here with you, and it's good to be back on a Tuesday, July 23rd, the second day of Packers training camp. Football is officially back, and it is a great time to be a Packers fan. So, let's dive right into it. I will plug the show. You can comment on the show on Spotify and participate in polls which come out every episode. That would be fantastic. You can also comment on YouTube as well. And so you can give me any questions or feedback or what you think about the show. That would be fantastic. Also, there is a link in the description of every episode on every platform to send in a voice message, and you can send your feedback that way and get your voice heard on the show in the next week's episode. The show is available anywhere you get podcasts, with the exception of Amazon Music, and you can watch the show on YouTube as well. Be sure to hit that subscribe or follow button wherever you get the podcast. And, that would be very much appreciated. You can also, tell your friends about the show. That really helps get the word out. And a great way to boost the show's ratings and get the show out to more people is by rating the show. You can rate the show on Spotify. You can rate and review on Apple Podcasts. That would be fantastic if you could, take, 30 seconds to do that real quick. Fantastic. And, you won't be disappointed because obviously this is a great show for great Packers fans like myself. New episodes come out every week. Most times it's Tuesday, sometimes it's Wednesday, sometimes it's not at all, but most times they come out every week. That really sounds horrible to say for a weekly podcast. You can also check out our website at greatcove.net/cheeseheadz. Every episode, you can listen to it there and find out how to follow me on social media and where you can listen to the show or watch the show. Basically, anywhere you can gain access to this fine podcast. Of course, you can follow me on social media at Cheeseheadz_weekly, except for on X, at Cheeseheadz_W, where I am the most active and where my fans are the most active. So that's why I'm the most active there. So, we did get a few questions. I've been, posting a quick post, tweeting it out. Of course, they don't call them tweets anymore technically on X, but, just any questions for me as I go through the show here, specifically relating to the Packers. And we do have one that I received last week after I already recorded the last episode, episode 75. Be sure to check that one out. So, yes, I did get a question, and I said I would answer it this week. If it still applies, it does still apply, so I will get to that one first. From Packer Fan Man at the Packer Fan Man on X. Be sure to check him out. What do you think the holdup is on getting a Jordan Love extension? What's your prediction on the contract details? So, we'll start with the first question. And I also got another question about the contract details, so we'll get to that in a moment. What do you think the holdup is on getting a Jordan Love extension? Just the details. The contract details, I think, is what the holdup is. I don't think there's, I think Brian Gutekunst said this himself, in his introductory press conference to start training camp. Introductory, he's been the GM for quite some time now, but you know what I mean, to start his, to start off training camp, that press conference, he was introducing training camp, I believe is what it was. But he said basically, these things take time, and especially when it's a quarterback and when he's going to be paid a lot of money, you want to get the details right so it's best for your team, best for the player, and it's great all around. So they want to make sure they get this right and they get this completely right. And so I think that's really the only thing that's taking too long. Of course, there's especially people outside Green Bay will speculate, why is he holding in? I don't know. Even some Packers fans aren't a real big fan of that. And by the way, I didn't mention this on yesterday's show, but Jordan Love is not practicing to start training camp without an extension. He is there. He is active in meetings. He is, not been available for questioning in the locker room after practices. Other than that, he is very active in team activities, just not actually on the practice field. So I don't have, I think this actually could be a good thing, could speed things up. Andy Herman mentioned that part of it. At this point, I'm not overreacting. If things take longer than expected, certainly, there could be some cause for concern. But at this point, the relationship still seems good from all the press conferences, with Goody and Matt LaFleur. And it seems that they're just, trying to get this worked out, and Jordan Love is just not wanting to risk injury and also just maybe trying to speed things up a little bit. And I think, honestly, if it was Jordan Love's decision alone, he would possibly even be out on the practice field. And I did also, I had a comment on one of my posts on X from a fan saying that they think it's probably just his agent, his team representatives that are keeping him off the field until the contract gets done, because I'm sure he very much wants to be out with his teammates. I fully agree with that. And, I think this is going to get done soon. I forget the exact quote, but Goody said that he expects the contract to get done very soon. So it seems like it's going to get done. The relationship still seems strong, healthy, good. Jordan Love's been all smiles out there watching the guys get at it, and it's, great reps for Sean Clifford and Michael Pratt, who have been splitting the reps 50-50 per Matt LaFleur. All right. On to another question. We'll go with, I got another question kind of related to the second part of this question. I'll just read that real quick if I can find it here. From Fun Football Podcast at Fun Football Pod. I've kind of collaborated with them a few times. You can check them out on X at Fun Football Pod. They're on YouTube, probably with that same handle, although I'm not 100% sure. You can certainly check out their account on X, give them a follow there. And great show, and look forward to, possibly getting them on the show here and getting on their show a few times. I've already gone live, been on Spaces with them. So we definitely collaborate a fair amount. But the question is, how much is Love getting? So that's pretty straightforward. What are the contract details? Packer Fan Man gave me that question there. What's my prediction on the contract details? I do think at the end of the day, he is going to get to be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. I would hope that it's not completely just record-breaking, mind-blowing, record-setting, completely market reset, anything like that. I would hope not. I don't think they need to pay him that much. But currently, the average salary for the top quarterbacks in the NFL, there's two tied for first place, making $55 million per season, and those were the Trevor Lawrence deal and the Joe Burrow deal. There's Jacksonville and Cincinnati's quarterbacks. Both of them got 5 years, $275 million. Joe Burrow got slightly more guaranteed money, $146.51 million. Trevor Lawrence only got $142 million. Those are the top two in guaranteed cash as well. So I'm all right with them kind of going with, something very similar to the Joe Burrow deal, similar guaranteed money, and just upping the average per year just a little bit, just, make him the highest paid quarterback in the league. Maybe making it 56, 57 per year. Basically, I'm looking for something in between the 55 to 60 range. I don't think we're going to get above 60. I certainly hope not. Don't think it needs to be that way. But I'm looking for something, around 5 years. Perhaps they're, working on something bigger, and maybe that's why it's taking a little longer. Maybe they're looking more at the, 7 to 10 year range. Mahomes, of course, got that crazy 10-year deal, and his average per year is only $45 million. He's not even getting paid that much relative to other quarterbacks. He's tied with Kirk Cousins in earnings per season, average earnings per season, which is kind of crazy. Josh Allen is actually below that at the moment too, so that's, that's honestly pretty crazy. The way that the market is just, kind of taken off. But I'm all right with, a little bit more than all these guys, not too much more. So I'll just go ahead and give my prediction. I'll go ahead and say, and by the way, Josh Allen got 6 years in his extension. I'll go ahead and say the Packers give, hold on. Let me just check if I can find it here real quick. How old Jordan Love is. Because I want to predict the length of the contract as well. Let me just check this out real quick. Jordan Love, age. So he's 25. Let's see what these other quarterbacks are here. Trevor Lawrence at the signing, 24. Joe Burrow, 26 at the signing. Let me see. Josh Allen at the signing was 24. Patrick Mahomes at signing was 24. So he's signed through his age 34 season. That's pretty crazy. Lawrence would be signed through age 29. Burrow through age 31. I would think that Jordan would be signed, through his age. Well, I guess this is the end year. Yeah, they actually are probably signed through longer than that because they had more years on their existing deals. So I would say the Packers probably go with a 5-year, 270, 280. We'll go with that. I'm just going to, predict roughly 5 years, $280 million deal. They'll give him, 147 roughly guaranteed, and he'll be making $56 million per year on average. So that is a little bit of what I want the contract to be, kind of the highest I want the contract to be. I don't feel like they have to completely reset the market with this, but it is taking some time, so we'll see. That's my prediction. 5 years, $280 million. It amounts to 56 on average per year. 147 of that guaranteed. All right, so there's my official prediction. Clip it, and we'll see if I'm right later. All right, got another question here from the Cowboy Reg, or Reg. I don't even know how you say it. It's spelled R-E-G-G. I've heard other people call him Reg. I always would have thought it was Reg, so I'm going to go with Reg. I apologize, Cowboy, if I'm messing up your name. I promise it's not out of spite because you're a Cowboys fan. At Irish underscore, let me just start over. So he's on X, this Cowboy dude. He's on X. His handle is at Irish underscore Cowboy 88, as in CD Lamb. I guarantee you that's why that number is there. Kind of like whenever I put 33 or 10 in all my handles, Jordan Love or Aaron Jones, bet you couldn't have guessed who 10 was for sure. Anyway, the question is, be sure to check him out, by the way. Great account on X. Give him a follow there. The question is, we are all just curious about love. How concerned are you and other fans about this? And the question is a little bit obscure. I'm not sure exactly if he's asking if I'm curious or if I'm concerned about everyone else being curious about love, or my guess is now that he's asking how concerned I am about the extension, the hold in, all that, whatever. So I'll answer it kind of, as far as everyone being curious about love, I don't really care at all. Y'all can think what you want. So I don't think that's really the question. How concerned are you and other fans about this? Well, for the majority, the real legit Packers fans that I agree with, and agree with me, and that I think, use common sense in coming up with takes and all that stuff, obviously think the same thing as me, and that is, I don't make too much of this. I posted this on X. I wanted to kind of give more in-depth analysis here, but I don't make too much of this. I think Love would like to be out there practicing, and I also think that they're close to getting a deal done. That's pretty much what everyone's been saying around the Packers, front office and everything. This is strictly a business decision by Jordan Love, not something done out of spite. Do not think he is doing this because he's mad at the Packers for not getting anything done. I think the relations are good. Both sides are working together, hard at work, working on getting this thing hammered out. And, they thought they were going to get it done by training camp. Now we've hit training camp. So that means it's going to be done soon. If the relations are still good and everything, that means they aren't, making this take longer than necessary because one side is mad at the other. It's because things are just taking longer than necessary, and they just want to make sure that they're going to get this done right. I think the Packers and Jordan have a great relationship. Kind of already said that. I also think this was kind of, his representatives making the decision to not put him out there on the practice field, to risk injury or anything, which some people just kind of scoff at that. It is what it is, Players certainly are at risk for injury, and then, of course, you got the undrafted rookies out there just playing their hearts out at training camp. Some of them some people just have the really bad injury luck of multiple, major injuries and never able to play, and so it's just kind of interesting how that works, I guess. But yeah, you got to earn it, and Jordan Love has earned it, and I think he will earn it, and so I'm fine with him paying them a lot of money, and I'm not concerned at all at this point about the hold-in and all that drama, if you can even call it drama at this point. Obviously, if things take longer than necessary or than expected, then, I'll start to think about it a little bit more and perhaps start getting, a little bit, have a little bit more cause for concern, I guess. But as of now, doesn't really bother me. So, in other news, Packers gave Kenny Clark an extension, his third deal as a Packer. Packers do not do this very often, and that is give third contracts to players. Third contracts normally come with a lot of risk. You're investing in a player that is likely going to be 30 or older, but Packers feel like they're not taking on near as much risk with this Kenny Clark deal. He signed a 3-year, $64 million extension on Sunday, his third with the Packers. He had, his rookie deal, a massive second contract, now a big third deal. And I think Clark, this is an absolute great move. Obviously comes with some risk, like we said, but I think Kenny Clark minimizes a lot of that risk. He's still 28 years old, and he's proven to be an elite player at his position. Obviously, great player. That's why you want him back. He's also incredibly reliable. He has not missed many games at all. He doesn't even turn 29 until October. Over the last 5 seasons, he's missed only 4 total games, and he's never played fewer than 13 games in a season. He's durable year in, year out, and he's not even had a major injury. So, I think it's a win-win, you don't run a huge risk injury-wise. Obviously, he'll be getting up there in age, but it's 3 years. So I'm not sure how many years he has left on his deal. I think he was entering a contract season, but I'm not totally sure. But here's what Goody had to say. Quote, "He's just a pro's pro, takes care of his body, puts the right things first. The main thing is the main thing for Kenny. He loves football. I think to play as long as he has at the level he has, you have to love it, and he certainly loves football. He's an unselfish team guy. He's all about winning. He's the exact example of guys we want in that locker room." So there you have it. High praise for Kenny, and that is, that's why, they signed up to that extension. Matt LaFleur says, quote, "He's good in any system. Hopefully there's more out there for him." That was after he was asked if in this new Jeff Hafley system, if Kenny Clark could be even better, and I think he certainly could be. Even if he's not, he's still 100% worth it. So, still very much an elite talent, and you don't find very many high-level players like that on the interior defensive line. Don't come around very often. So, when you have one, you may as well, ride the train into the ground, I guess. I'm not sure if that's quite the correct analogy. Maybe you'd say plane into the... whatever. Run it into the ground? Yeah, maybe that's what... I don't know, man. It's been a long day, apparently. In other news, Jordan Love hasn't been at practice. Packers signed QB Jacob Eason. He tried out with the Packers before, I believe. Maybe it was this year, rookie mini camp or something. So, that's of note, not a ton of note for me. They just really need an extra arm is really all it is, I think. And the corresponding move was the release of rookie long snapper Peter Bowden, who is an undrafted rookie. I thought he had a good chance of making the roster. I predicted him to make the roster in my way too early 53-man roster prediction, because of, Matt Orsic not playing well. But it's possible he's back with the team anyway. Once Jordan Love comes to practice, they won't have need of that third quarterback or fourth quarterback once Love comes back. So they could release Eason and, re-sign Peter Bowden. So we'll see what happens there. Speaking of special teams, Anders Carlson kicked for the first time today, and from what I've heard, really bad weather. It was pouring rain. Packers decided to stay outside for practice, get some good, practice in the rain. And Anders Carlson was a perfect 6 for 6 in a, really wet day. Carlson made all 6 of his attempts during the rain-soaked practice. He was good from 33, 38, and 41 in the first batch, and good from 41, 45, and 46 in the second batch. The only kicker that was perfect, day 1, James Turner, the rookie, kicked, and he was 4 for 6. Greg Joseph and Carlson kicked today. Joseph was 5 for 6. Carlson, the only guy perfect, 6 for 6. He was pretty good in minicamp as well, and OTAs. So this is going to be interesting, but I love what I'm seeing from Carlson. I so hope he wins that job. I'm absolutely rooting for him, and hopefully he will be the Packers kicker again and a better version of himself from last year. Jeff Hafley's defense has been of note through the first few days of practice. Sean Clifford was able to run the offense okay. The offense did make a few plays. Overall, though, the defense won the day. The energy has been through the roof, and especially day 2 with the rain, the offense got nothing done whatsoever. They were doing push-ups at the end of practice. Jeff Hafley has this defense humming. I mean, they were talking trash. Rashawn Gary has been dominating, mainly Andre Dillard, who I'll talk about here in a second. I mean, he sacked the quarterback, as it would be in training camp, 3 times in just 4 plays. And Kingsley Enagbari, I believe, had 3 sacks. Jonathan Ford had a sack. Basically, everyone along the defensive line was wrecking plays. Carrington Valentine had some pass breakups. Very nice out of him. And he hasn't even been, he's putting together a good camp, and he's in competition with Eric Stokes for the number 2 cornerback spot. So far, it's been Stokes getting the majority of the number 1 reps opposite Jair Alexander. Speaking of which, let's talk about injuries. There was a slight injury scare with Jair after the first practice. Matt LaFleur said today, on day 2, after the second practice, or maybe it was before, don't know. He said that it was just him overheating a little bit, and so he needed some time off. So nothing serious there. The following players did not practice on day 1 or day 2. Jordan Love, obviously, with the contract situation. Jaden Reed was placed on the non-football injury list. He sustained a toe injury, I guess, during his recent football camp. I heard someone say that he must have got crossed up, by an 8-year-old running a route against him, and so he injured his toe, and he's out of commission. But the Packers don't believe it's serious. He could be back tomorrow or the next day, likely sometime this week. Tight end Tucker Kraft, unsurprisingly, was put on the PUP list. He's recovering from a torn pec. Packers think he's ahead of schedule. Cornerback Corey Ballantyne is also on the PUP list. He has a hamstring injury. Marshawn Lloyd has a hip injury. It sounds like it's minor, but he also was the only guy of all the injured guys so far that was not working at all with the rehab group outside with everybody else. So, not practicing, and perhaps the farthest away from coming back, so maybe that means everyone else is really close. I don't know. Whatever that means. I think I still don't think it's very serious. It doesn't sound like it's very serious from what I've been hearing, so certainly something to monitor, though. Safety Kitano Ladapo, the rookie, is on the non-football injury list, recovering from off-season toe surgery. Still has a couple of hurdles to clear before he's back on the field, per Brian Gutekunst. Offensive tackle Caleb Jones is on the PUP list because of a hamstring injury. Offensive lineman Donovan Jennings, undrafted rookie, is on the PUP list as well because of a knee injury. I don't think any of these injuries are especially serious. Tucker Kraft would probably be the most serious, but he has had some time to recover and seems to be ahead of schedule, so he could be back, fairly soon with all the rest of them. So that's, pretty good news on the injury front. Not a ton of issues there. One other quick piece of news here that I wanted to forgot to. Royce Newman took a $866K pay cut to stick with the Packers through training camp. Basically, he was making a good bit for the value of player he is for the Packers. Kind of just a depth player, fringe roster guy, might not even make the roster. So he took a pay cut so that the Packers could keep him. Otherwise they probably would have just cut him. Still, none of his contract is guaranteed. Basically, they reduced his $3,116,000 base salary to $1,250,000, and then added $1 million to in per game roster bonuses. None of that's guaranteed still, but basically they lowered his salary cap hit so that he can stick around through training camp. They don't just have to cut him, and basically so he has a chance to make the roster. Still might not have a chance to make the roster if he continues playing the way he has the last couple seasons, since that decent rookie season. Hopefully he can perform a little bit better. So, as far as rookies, I guess I'll go over that. Well, first, one other quick thing of note here. A.J. Dillon, back looking great, just like everyone says, but this year is different. Quote, "This is the best I've seen him, hands down, and I think he'd tell you the same. It's a testament to the work he's put in. He came back and he's in great shape. I was joking with him the other day. You can see the abs on him. That's hard for a big man to do. He looks like he's in great shape, and I think he's in a great place mentally. Obviously, we know what he's capable of doing. I think he's in a really good position to show his best." That was from Matt LaFleur, and according to Andy Herman, beat writer for the Packers, host of the Pack-A-Day podcast. Check them out, by the way. He had, a great run where he actually showed some burst. Quote, burst. Yes, Herman did use that word, and good to hear, because we haven't seen a ton of burst in recent seasons from A.J. Dillon. So it sounds like he actually is in really good shape this year. Hopefully that'll help him out, but he's been putting in the work, and I've always, thought he was a hard worker. It's just kind of felt for him, Just hasn't ever been able to put together a really great season. So maybe this is finally the year for AJ. I really hope it is. I'm rooting for him, for sure. All right. So I'm not going to go over a whole ton of everything else. Obviously, the energy on defense seems to be the real thing. Certainly things could change once Jordan comes back and starts tearing it up. We'll see what happens. But, the defense, making a great Jeff Hafley making a great first impression. And I tell you what, the energy has been crazy with all the chirping stuff going on. One quick note about Andre Dillard. He seems to be the weak link on the offensive line. He's been getting plenty of starter reps with Zach Tom. Limited. Zach Tom, by the way, did have that pec injury. He was removed from the PUP list and was able to practice in a limited capacity on day one of training camp. just doing individuals at the moment. So he's not been in, and Andre Dillard has been in for him at right tackle, and he's been getting beat right and left, specifically by Rashawn Gary, who, most people get beat by, but also by, some other lesser talents as well. So, he's not really showing up, showing why he could be any better than, how, atrociously bad he was in past years, with Tennessee and Philly. So, yeah, definitely not a great sign for him. He certainly is a cut candidate. At this point, he's going to have to show something if he wants to stick around. All right, so now I'm going to quickly go over the rookies, what they've been doing, starting with Jordan Morgan. He's been kind of moving around the offensive line so far. I believe he got some time at right guard. I think he rotated in with the ones at right guard for Sean Ryan. Possibly some at left guard as well, with Elton Jenkins at times, getting some rest and stuff, being the veteran that he is. So, haven't heard a ton, but hasn't been a bad camp, hasn't been a crazy good camp. I mean, we're 2 days in, the pads aren't even on yet, so, and especially for the offensive line, I think they could potentially start performing better when the pads come on, because, the pads kind of play a big part in, being able to control guys, controlling the defensive linemen and able to, block them better. So the advantage definitely is with the defensive line right now. And they're, taking full advantage of that advantage. So, yeah, Jordan Morgan, certainly someone to watch. But, I mean, he's been getting in with the ones a little bit, so that's certainly not a bad sign at all. Of course, we have Edgerrin Cooper. He's gotten in with the ones, specifically in nickel packages on defense. Whenever they're in base, it has been Quay Walker, Isaiah McDuffie, and Eric Wilson with the ones, but it's been Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper in nickel. So he's been getting in there, and he's made a few flash plays here and there, something you like to see. Javon Bullard was the day one starter at safety yesterday alongside Xavier McKinney. And, he's been flashing, doing some good things. But today, a little bit of a surprise, rookie safety Evan Williams was starting out with the ones ahead of Javon Bullard. We have not seen Anthony Johnson Jr. get in yet, and he was kind of the guy during OTAs and stuff, being as he is a second-year guy. Bullard and Williams are rookies, so it should be interesting to see what that rotation kind of looks like once, Katana Ladapo gets back, and if they, kind of rotate everyone in with the ones, or, go day by day, kind of, a different guy starting with the ones, or if it's really that Evan Williams is just, really impressing, and it's going to be him and Bullard, spending time with the ones. We'll see how that works out. And then, let's see, Oladapo, of course, hurt. Marshawn Lloyd has been hurt. I think fans are excited to see what he can do. And then we have some of the really obscure guys like the Travis Glovers and the Jacob Monks. Haven't, heard a lot about them yet. They'd be playing with the 2s and 3s. And Michael Pratt, obviously, has been getting in some work. Haven't heard a lot of good or bad things. Obviously, the defense has just been kind of dominating overall. And but I think the Packers are really high on Pratt, and I am as well. Certainly excited to see what he can do. And with his, more reps that he is getting, and reps with the ones he's been able to get now. I'm not sure having trouble thinking of all the other rookies, but those are really the main ones that really there's anything of note about, I guess. Anyway, haven't heard a whole lot about Kalen King. He's probably been with the Twos. I might have heard something about him making a play or two. And I'm sure I know the Packers are high on him, and so are some of the players. So that will about wrap things up for me today. I'm not going to get into anything, too deep. If you want a deep dive on some of the training camp stuff, you'll have to check out X. Some of the Packers beat writers post updates as the practices are going on. And, of course, you can check out the Pack-A-Day podcast. Andy Herman, one of those beat writers on X, who I follow pretty closely, also recaps each day in an episode and really kind of just does 2 recaps and breaks everything down real nice for you and for all of us Packers fans. So I really appreciate that. You can check that out. But that's it for me today. Good solid 40 minutes in. So thanks for listening, everybody. Really appreciate it. Hit that follow or subscribe button wherever you're at. Really easy, totally free, not very hard to do. Whether you're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, wherever else, sure to do that. That'd be much appreciated. But I will be back with you next week. Hopefully we'll have a new Jordan Love contract by then. Remember my prediction, okay? 5 years, $280 million. $56 million per year, $147 guaranteed. That's my prediction. We'll see what happens. Hopefully we have that by next week's episode, and of course we'll have plenty more, the training camp continuing through this week and next. Should be fun. Definitely a very fun part of the off season. Great time to be a Packers fan for sure. With that, I will talk to you all next week. Go Pack Go.